Trump critic Bill Maher talked about how pleasant his meeting with President Trump was at the White House.
Everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy. I never felt I had to walk on eggshells around him. And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama, but I would never feel comfortable talking to them the way I was able to talk with Donald Trump.
I knew they would hit it off, but later in the show, Washington Post columnist Josh Rogan suggested Maher got taken for a sucker.
I think you've fallen into the trap. I think that I represent 99% of the internet when I say this, is that you've played the game of proximity is principle.
What is the alternative to not talking? Just sit at your lunch table and don't talk to anybody?
I talk to him. I've interviewed Trump. Here's his interview.
That's just not an interview. This was not an interview.
I agree with the principle of engagement. I'm just saying, from his perspective, you have to understand that people out there know, all Americans know, that for him, this was a PR stunt. And in his view, you were a prop in that PR stunt.
Daniel, it seems to me that Josh is very jealous of the meeting between President Trump and Bill Maher.
No, I think it's Maher makes a really good point, which is that to actually do a good job as a journalist or just as like a influential member of the public like Bill Maher is, you don't want to just do interviews with politicians that you cover or you talk about. You want to actually sit down with them when you can in an off-the-record capacity so that you get to know the person and then you can evaluate their character on a private basis. I will say that sometimes people can be really nice in private and then rage tweet, as you just said about Trump, where you're a totally different person in public. So Trump actually behind the scenes is very nice, and sometimes publicly he is much tougher. So there is this kind of contrast there.
Tiana, I think the Bill Maher, I mean, he's criticized both sides of both parties. I mean, it's not like it's a one-way street with them. So I think he's honest, like purely honest about like what his relationship is with Trump.
And when you think about it, Bill Maher and Donald Trump really do kind of come from the same world, at least for 30 years when Donald Trump was a celebrity and Bill Maher was also a celebrity. And then, as Bill Maher will always say, like the left kind of got too crazy for him. Where he's still a liberal Democrat.
Anti-political correctness, too.
But but he's happy to have like Ben Shapiro and folks on his show. And look, here's the thing. As much as even the biggest Trump hater in the world can't deny the fact that the man is hilarious. Everything is computer. You don't have the cards. These are all winning lines. Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson commentary.
Well, I mean, Bill Maher and President Trump are hilarious. Saturday Night Live, unsurprisingly, took a dig at President Trump this weekend, but it also took a swipe at our network in the process.
Can you imagine how awful it would be if America lost all its money and no one in the world respected us anymore? You would never let our economy go to pieces.
SNL showed Trump looking at a fake Newsmax headline. While we have no doubt the president watches and reads Newsmax on a regular basis, we did not report that the president triggered a global recession. I mean, Matt, I do have to say SNL is getting somewhat funnier lately.
Chloe Fineman, who is doing the impression there of Parker Posey, she's a very, very talented, comedian. I do think that the finale of White Lotus was a bit disappointing for those who watched it. But to the greater point, this highlights the fact that Newsmax has really made it. If that's the first source that people go to say this is what President Trump's getting his news from, I think that's a little bit funny. And I do think, you know, to your point, that's the best Donald Trump impersonator I think they've ever had. If we can talk pop culture for a second, not politics here, the way that he does the Trump weave, I think, is phenomenal. And nobody else has done it.
Baldwin, you can never top Alec Baldwin.
He was the worst. That was phoned in.
There's no humor in it. He's just angry. Whereas the new Trump, like he's able to obviously be very critical because it's still SNL. But you can't make fun of someone and lampoon someone unless like you can find what the appeal is to his audience. And the weave is part of it.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.